This AI agent I built will automatically find and scrape thousands of leads for you, grab their information such as contact and personal information, and even info on the company that they work for, and then do research to enrich the information on them even further, scrubbing the internets to find any specific details about them or their company, such as if they're hiring, their annual revenue, if they received any achievements or funding rounds recently, and so much more. From there, we're going to store the lead and information found into our CRM and then have the agent generate a personalized first line for us to put into our email outreach platform, which we're using instantly, to then actually send the emails. So as mentioned in the title of this video, I've used this agent in the past to help book more calls and thus close several $1,000 deals. I only used this for a little less than a month and it was generating me over 5 calls every single week. But anyway, make sure you stick around because I'll be showing you how to build this entire agent for a fraction of the price than of having to pay for leads from Apollo. Now, real quick, before we get into the video, I just wanted to mention that if you're a business owner looking to implement AI agents and other custom AI solutions into your company to increase your bottom line, check out the link below to apply to work with us. And if you're looking to learn and do everything yourself, we have 3 more spots to work directly one-on-one with me. So whether you want to start your own AI automation agency and land clients or automate your business yourself, I'll help you achieve your goals. You'll also get full access to my resources, templates, and in-depth tutorials. Now, breaking down this agent, we're starting off with a few different requests right here. Now, what we're doing right here through these 3 different HTTP requests, we're actually making calls to Appify. And Appify is basically going to scrape our Apollo searches. Now, whether we want to find people or companies within the marketing sect, which is what we're going to be using as the example in this video, all you have to do is just search up these leads within Apollo and you'll grab the URL, which I'll explain all this later. But we're grabbing that URL and putting it into Appify. Now, getting into this agent, I want to break it down into 3 different parts as simply as possible. So first off, we have the generating of leads. So what we're going to do is we're going to find and pull all the information on hundreds and even thousands of leads. So if we want to find people to reach out to within marketing agencies or maybe law firms, we're going to apply that to this agent, tell it what we are looking for, and it's going to get all that information. So once we have all those emails and the company information, the person's name, we are then going to pass this into our agent where it's going to enrich the leads information even further. And why we want to enrich it? Well, if we're going to be reaching out to these people via email, we want to be able to say something about them. So whether they have recent funding rounds or if they are hiring more people or anything of that sort, maybe they have recent achievements that you would like to mention. So these are important things to know when it comes to outreach. If you're familiar with outreach and have done it yourself, you would know that it's very important to personable as possible, really. Also, having more information and defining what your avatar is, it'll really allow you to nail down who you are actually working with, who you're going to help, and being certain that you actually can help them. So from there, we are going to include this into a personalized first line. So we're going to take the lead enrichments, all the information that we found from scraping the lead, and we're just going to pass this to ChatGPT. And this is going to actually generate a personalized first line. And then we're going to include it. And instantly, if you're not familiar, it's a mass outreach sending platform. So you can have 10 different email accounts and reach out to thousands of different emails automatically. So you're not having to do really anything yourself. We're just going to include the personalized first lines and everything like that. Just send it off into instantly. Now, how we actually go about building this agent? Well, let's go back to the beginning. What we have is a few different HTTP requests. Now, within each of these are all going to be applied to Appify. And I'll show you really what I'm including in all of them. Now, Appify, what this is, it's a API marketplace that's allowing us to connect to Apollo. Why we need to connect to Apollo? Because I'm going to be using marketing agencies as my hypothetical example in this case. So let's say that I want to send thousands of emails and send them all to marketing companies and really just let them know about my offer, try to get them on book calls. What I've done is I've included some of the titles, so founder, owner, co-owner. So you could filter this however you would like, but once you actually get up to this page, normally you would have to pay quite a sizable amount to actually pull all of these leads from Apollo, because every month it's, I don't know, maybe $100 a month, if not more, to really get access to all these different leads. So what I'm going to do instead is we're essentially just going to take this search URL and we're going to be giving it to Appify, and Appify is going to thus scrape all of these leads and provide me all the information from Apollo. So as you can see at the top, it's only $1.20 per 1,000 leads. So that's just a fraction of the cost of what you're going to have to pay for Apollo, which is already insane as it is. Now, if we want to do this automatically and not have to run this manually every single time and, put it into our CRM and then take all those just repetitive and iterative actions, we're just going to automate it. So you can get this template in my community, as I mentioned already, but we have these few different HTTP requests. Feel free to copy what I have put on the screen right here, but we are using a URL endpoint that is being grabbed from right here. So if I go to API endpoints, we can see right here, if I just copy this over and if I paste it in, we're going to get this right here. At the end of this, you can really just copy your API key. So starting with Apify, that's where you're wanting to copy. And then you can paste that down. I'll show you later on where you can actually put that. Now, the only other things is we're sending a header. So for the content type, we're just putting the value as application/JSON. Then we want to send a body. Within the body, we'll obviously be using JSON. Within here, it's relatively straightforward. If you go to JSON, you could just copy over your input. What I've done within this input is I'm just putting in my Apollo search, and that's literally just what I grabbed from right here. So this doesn't matter if you're reaching out to marketing agencies or law firms or recruitment agencies, whatever it is, all you have to do is just search in Apollo and then grab the search result that's popped up right here. Super simple. Then we're just plugging that into Apollo and we'll be able to thus put that into our JSON right here. Now, the minimum limit to actually run this is 500. So that's what I'm going to leave it as. And then as you can see, I just put in the URL endpoint and get personal emails. I put that as true and get work emails as true. That is everything for this particular node. And this next one, we're basically going to wait for this node to finish. Because it takes a little while for it to run, it might take 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. It really depends. You could change the value. So what I've said here is feel free to copy this as well. Pause the video, whatever works for you. I'm putting in api.apify.com/v2/actor-runs/data ID. And the data ID, I'm literally just grabbing from right here and I'm just pulling that over. And how I knew this was the correct endpoint, well, if I go into Apify and if I go back to the endpoints, you will see here, if you scroll down enough, you will find the proper endpoints. Apify is pretty easy. It's just a neat way for you to really identify what information you need to put into your API requests to really query anything that you want. And I'm using a GET request for this. It'll specify whether you have to use a post, GET, patch, whatever. Anyways, in the query parameters, I'm using the wait for finish, and then I'm just going to be waiting 60 seconds. Within the headers, this is where I'm going to be putting my API key. So under the content type, application/JSON, and then I'm putting bearer as the name, and the value is going to be my API key. And the next node, this is where we're actually going to be pulling that data now that it's waited 60 seconds or whatever the value you chose. So what we've done is, again, if we go into Apify, if we go into our endpoints, if we go to data sets, so we see run actor synchronously and get data set items. That's what we're looking for. So we're just going to copy this over and I just put it right here. And then I've grabbed my data set ID, which if we search in here, default data set ID, that's pretty much what we're looking for. So we'll just drag that, pull it over. Here will just be /items. Okay. Authentication, I'm just going to leave that as none. And then the last thing, similarly to the last node, you'll just put in your content type application/JSON. And then below that, the other parameter is going to be bearer and the value will be your API key once again. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's kind of see what the information that we're generating. I really don't want to show off all this information, so I will later just be using dummy data, but this is kind of what we're going to be getting. I have 200 items and first name, last name right there. Here we have the LinkedIn URL, but it's going to be showing so much more information like the email and where they work, all of that. And then what we can do from there is we can actually use a edit fields to pinpoint what all these items are. But I don't want to show off that information again. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube and get this video taken off my upload list. So what I have done is I've used some dummy data. Now, if we open this up, we will see that I have put in this information as Gary Vaynerchuk. I put in a LinkedIn URL for him, the email, his position in the company. Now, if you would like to, you can really change up all the information. So if you want to include more than this, Apollo provides so much more than just that, these few things. If I actually pull up the Apollo scraper, we'll see some of the information that we could get. So if you go to the information, we'll see some of the sample output data. So we can get things like first name, last name, LinkedIn URL, the title, so their position at the company, whether or not that email is verified, their headline, I believe that's coming from LinkedIn, organization ID, and so much more, even their employment history. So the list just goes on, and it's really up to you to decide what you actually want to pull. Whatever you don't get, you can later enrich further by searching the internet, which I will show you how you can do. So we have our dummy data, and I've actually limited it. So you would probably want to remove this limit function or limit node right here, because I only wanted to limit it to just one and not 500 different items. But anyways, in this next part, we have the enrichment of the lead. So I'll open up this AI agent, and what I said is you are to take the inputs given to you and pass them through the Clay tool to enrich the company further. And then I'm just providing the inputs. So the name, email, position, and company. I guess you would have to put them in here. Why I say you may not need to is because I have this tool function right here where I'm just inputting the workflow inputs. So the name, the LinkedIn, email, and position. And all I did for that is just drag over the information. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. What we're going to be using for this agent is we're going to be using Clay. Now Clay, it can get relatively expensive. Now you won't be able to use this with the free plan. And I believe the first paid plan would be $100 a month and then $350 a month. So it is very expensive, but if you're doing outreach very consistently and you rely on it to book calls, then I would highly recommend something like Clay. I'll put a link down below in the description where you can get a set amount of credits. I can't remember exactly how much it is. I believe it's 1,000, maybe 2,000 credits for free. So we get just about a few weeks of credits for free. Now, if you don't want to use Clay, you could use something like Perplexity, ChatGPT, just making sure that you're actually providing these LLMs with access to the internet, so it can enrich them further. So I'll kind of show you at the end of this video how you can use something that's more budget friendly as opposed to just Clay. But for sake of this video, I'll try to make this as quick as possible. But what we're doing is we're making this call to Clay. So in this description, I'm just saying call this tool to query into Clay and then enrich the company and person even further. As I already showed you, I'm providing the workflow inputs right here. Now, in this new workflow, as I mentioned, this is where we're going to be making a call to Clay. We are actually going to be inputting the information that we just grabbed. So if I go back here, I will show you really quick. So it would be Gary Vaynerchuk, his LinkedIn, all that information. It's going to go into my Clay table. And in my Clay table, we're going to be storing it as a full name, the email, and then from here, it's going to take all this information and try to enrich it and really find as much information as possible. So in company information, we can see right here, it shows a response. So VaynerX is a global media company. So they were founded in 2016. It operates as a family of companies. They exceeded 300 million in 2024 and so on. So we're really just taking a few extra steps, enriching the information as much as possible. But as I mentioned, you don't have to use Clay. Clay is just a way for us to easily make calls and expand on this information. So we can find their domain pretty easily. We can add funding rounds if they recently hired, so much more. And I'll show you even further some of their integrations or enrichments, I should say. So we can enrich the company information. We can find their description of the company, employee count, the Facebook of the company, when it was founded, funding stage, what industry they're in, their Instagram, investors, job openings, latest fundings. There's so much more. It just doesn't stop there. Anyways, how we actually get this information into Clay, what I'm doing is making an HTTP request. And this is just going to send to a webhook. And again, the webhook is, I believe, under the paid plan where it's either 100 or 300 a month. So again, pretty expensive, and you don't have to use this as the only option to enrich your leads. It's just a way that we think is super easy for our company. But anyways, we are connecting our endpoints to this webhook right here. What you would do is you would just add another webhook source, and then it would provide you with the URL to the webhook right here. You'll just copy this over and we'll paste this into our endpoint right here. We'll also be using a post request, and down here is the information that we actually want to input into Clay. So the name, LinkedIn, email, position, company. So if I run this really quick, let's run this dummy data. Yeah, it's going to run through the entire workflow. So it's going to take a second to run, but this will be good because I'll show you some of the examples that we're getting from this data. But from there, I'll show you what it looks like when we're inputting it into Clay. So I'll get back to you once it finishes because it's going to take 60 seconds for this to run, as you should remember from earlier. Okay, it just finished running. And as you can see, it's just providing that output once again. So it's coming with the first name, last name, and so much more information. If we scroll all the way to the right, we can kind of see what we're getting. So personal emails, organization name, and so on. But again, I don't want to use that data in my video and expose anybody's actual emails. So what we're going to be doing is just using dummy data. Now, in this node, that's where we're using Gary Vaynerchuk's personal information instead. And just to preface, that isn't his actual email in there. It's totally fake. Just wanted to put that out there. So we're inputting this information through the AI agent. And if we go to our executions, it's saying that it ran all this information properly. So if we scroll down, now if we open up Clay, we should see a brand new row. And here it is right here. Gary Vaynerchuk, all this information is populating. And it's going to take a little while for this company information to generate. And that's why we later use a wait node right here. But I'll get into that in just a second. Once that is generated, what it's going to do, it's then going to send an HTTP request to our N8N workflow. And that's where we have this webhook set up to actually collect that. So this webhook, all we do is just create a brand new one. I'm using the production URL. The discrepancy between test and production is production you'll want to use when you're actually running the workflow on activated. So it's going to be running automatically. Test URL, that's obviously where you're just going to be running your demos, your tests. So if you're listening for an event, like a one-time thing, you'll just want to use this URL. So that's kind of the discrepancy right there. So we're using the production URL, and all I do is I just open up HTTP API and I put in the API endpoint right there. And then from here, we can set up all the different things that we want to include that's going to be sent to our webhook. So I included the name, email, company, and company information. So if I open up this, all this stuff is going to be sent to our workflow. So pretty much it's saying the same thing that it showed earlier. It shouldn't really be much different information, but here's the confidence score. It's showing that it's high and some of the steps taken. So it found most of this information from, it looks like VaynerX.com, LinkedIn, Crunchbase, and theorg.com. But anyways, if we come back to our agent, we'll see that it's providing us with the information for Gary Vaynerchuk has been enriched successfully. Now from here, we're going to run through this wait node, but for sake of this video, I'm going to leave that alone and not wait any further because it's already finished. And then it's going to search the Airtable record, which I think I kind of forgot to cover right here. After this webhook is received, it's going to put all that information into our CRM. So whether you're using HubSpot or Airtable, Google Sheets, whatever it is, we're just inputting it right here. So we input Gary Vaynerchuk and then all the information. So what we really needed is just the company about section. So if I open up my CRM, we'll see there's a brand new row right here. And here's the information. So all that right there. And hypothetically, you could put in a bunch of different columns like their funding round and their recent achievements, or if there's any information on them in the news lately, then that could be some useful information put on there. But we're just going to leave that as is right now. And that really covers this entire workflow right here. Actually, the last part before I forget is we're using an edit fields node, and this edit fields is just going to set a response. And this is how the agent's going to know that it's finished running. And then the value is just going to be done, which is relatively straightforward. So next up, as I mentioned already, we're going to be searching this information from our Airtable. So we do have to filter it after you put it in your credentials and you're all hooked up. We want to filter it by the name. So the name at hand is going to be Gary Vaynerchuk. So we're just going to put curly brackets name and then input the name right there of what it actually is. So you'll see the result will be name equals whoever it is. So in this example, it's Gary. This next segment is where we're going to be actually generating our personalized first lines to include in our emails. So something like, hey Nick, I saw you run a AI development company. I saw that you guys recently reached 20K a month and I figured you guys are having X problem. So something like that. So if we will open up the prompt, here's what I'm saying is you are to create a personalized first line for an email to, I just inputted the JSON name. You are to use the information found to create a one sentence first line that will complement or mention something impressive about his company. For example, saying, I saw you guys exceeded 100K in revenue last year. That's amazing. This is just an example. And you must use different lines depending on the information that is provided to you. So I just mentioned a few other things. Feel free to copy what I'm saying, but I really didn't include my actual prompt for this. It's going to be very specific to what you are reaching out for. So if you're reaching out for spreading your awareness about your offer for your SMMA company, as opposed to an AI automation company, it's going to be completely different. So your personalized first line should kind of differentiate based off of that a little bit. So tailor it as needed. And anyways, we're just providing the input about the company and then who the company actually is. Now, if I test this out, we'll see what we kind of get. So from this information right here, we have the company about section of that VaynerX is a global modern marketing company, exceeded 300 million in 2024, and some other personal information. What it's generating right here is it says, it's impressive to see VaynerX expanding with a new headquarters in Miami while anticipating a revenue surge beyond 300 million next year. Now, what we want to do is we want to actually put that into our Instantly campaign. And I left all this blank for a reason because I don't want to give away my campaign ID or my API key because, for obvious reasons. But what we would do is we would just drag over the content. So you could feel free to copy this template. All I'm going to do for the personalization, I'll just input right here. And then from there, we could just use that within Instantly. So within Instantly, we can write an email that says, hey, Nick, you'll insert your personalized first line right here. And then down here, it can just be your templatized email. So your actual body of the email. So it'll say something like, to get to the point, we offer AI solutions and can automate your tasks to save 10 plus hours every single week. Best, Nick. Something like that. Obviously, you'll want to make it way better than that. And this is just a hypothetical. But from there, You're just going to be sending off the emails, scheduling them to send on whichever days you would prefer at whatever time you would like. But yeah, that's really everything that I wanted to show you. And again, this is an agent that I've actually used in the past, which has generated me thousands of dollars. And I really didn't even use it for that long. So imagine if I were to perfect my offer and perfect my body copy and even iterate on the prompting for the personalized first line, then, who knows how much I could generate. So, I mean, for me personally, I just had to put everything on a pause because, a company just can't handle all the leads that are coming in. It's not feasible for us to automate every single company that reaches out to us. So we had to put things on a pause. But, this can work wonders for you. It'll save you time. You won't have to go through Apollo and won't actually have to pay $100, $200 a month to get all of those leads. So it's just a fraction of the cost. And if you didn't want to use Clay, you could just use Perplexity. So in previous videos, I've uploaded how you can actually use Perplexity with N8N. And if you're not familiar with what that is, Perplexity is just an LLM that has real-time access to the internet. So from there, it's great for doing research and you can find out information on the company and enrich them through there. So what I would do is I would go to that video, grab really the template for the tool, and you can just input it right here. So instead of calling Clay, you'll just call Perplexity and it'll pull that information and really just be a simple replacement. But other than that, I really hope you guys found some value in this video because this is an agent that really took me quite a bit of time to put together and really think of how it's going to come to fruition and actually help me save time and money. But anyways, if you're a business owner looking to implement not only systems like this, but a whole plethora of either videos that we've uploaded in the past or really anything else that you may have in mind, then you could apply to work with us. Link is down below in the description. And if you're looking to learn and scale your own AI automation agency, then we have 3 more spots to work one-on-one directly with me, where you will get access to not only myself, but access to my templates, resources, so stuff like from these YouTube videos. But with that being said, check that out. Link is down below in the description, and I will see you in the next video.